Mira, and magandang hapon po. Please bear with my, my voice. So, my presentation will be about the PQF as mentioned, and this is one of the major reforms and initiatives that we have done for our education and training system. Globally, there is an emerging trend towards establishing national qualifications framework. And an NQF has always been part of education and training and has been in existence mostly in the European countries. It serves as a credit transfer system developed for qualification in these countries. And it's a translating facility for referencing academic degrees and other learning qualifications among the member countries. And for the Philippines now, we are now on our journey towards the full implementation of the Philippine Qualifications Framework. So, and I believe that the development of the PQF comes at a most opportune time, especially given the structure of the management of our Philippine education and training system. As most of you would be aware of, we have a trifocalized management of our education and training system, wherein basic education is under the supervision of the Department of Education, technical vocational education and training or middle level manpower development is under TESDA, while higher education, which includes baccalaureate and post-baccalaureate degrees, are under the supervision of the Commission on Higher Education. But looking at our system now, our education system now incorporates the recent reforms that we have, which is the introduction of the K-12 program, as you can see here. So we have mandatory kinder level of education, and then we have now a 10-year and 12-year basic education. We're starting with the 11 and 12 in some pilot institutions, but the full implementation will be in 2016 for the K-12. So the compartmentalization exists in our Philippine education system. Quality is assured through the standards and accreditation system for basic and higher education, as well as for post-secondary technical vocational education and training. Now, let me bring you back to the pronouncement of the President during his SONA in 2011. And during this SONA, he directed Dole, CHED, TESD, and DepEd to work together to address the issue of job skills mismatch. We have heard the presentation a while ago on manufacturing resurgence, and there's always been, I think, a clamor, especially from our industry, on the persistent job skills mismatch that we have. And we look at the institutionalization of the PQF as not the only solution towards addressing the skills mismatch that we are talking about. Now, that was in October 2012, Executive Order 83, which was signed by the President, which institutionalized the PQF. And its objectives are to adopt national standards and levels for outcomes of education, to support the development and maintenance of pathways and equivalencies. I think ito yung second objective would be more easily understood by our people, because this is where its benefit can be really seen, like your established pathways and equivalency, and you get recognition for learnings that are acquired in learning places, whether informal or informal settings. And then the third is to align the PQF with international qualifications framework to support national and international mobility of workers, and through the increased recognition of the value and compatibility of Philippine qualifications framework. We're hearing about the ASEAN Economic Community, the international mobility, and this qualifications framework that we are discussing now would be would help facilitate this international mobility, and we will of course afford recognition to the qualifications that are earned in our country. Now, the development of the PQF, of course, consider various inputs to derive to the desired outputs. We look at industry needs and the need for global recognition of competencies, the existing or current qualification levels that we have now, as well as the recognition of prior learning. Ongoing studies, in fact, I believe we have many ongoing studies like on quality assurance, which is now being undertaken by PIDS. And our desired outputs, once we have fully operationalized the PQF, is that we have well-established qualification levels, well-accepted descriptors, registers, and working groups, working pathways and equivalency system, and harmonized quality assurance system information guidelines. I'll discuss some of the details later on the work of the working groups that we have. And of course, key here is our consultation and advocacy with various stakeholders. So this is how the PQF looks like. If you look at it, there are 8 levels in our qualifications framework, and each level will there are descriptors for each level, and they are defined in four domains, such as knowledge, skills, and values. Second is on application, and the third is degree of independence and qualification type. For basic education level, those who will graduate from grade 10 and grade 12 through the textbook track will earn qualification levels 1 and 2, which are equivalent to NC1 and NC2 under the textbook track of TESDA. Now, the qualification levels for post-secondary or under TESDA would be levels 1 to 5, and this consists of the national certificates 1 to 4, which are now currently being issued by TESDA through its assessment and certification program. And then another level is being added. This is a new level, diploma. It's still under development. Well, for higher education, we start with level 6, which is the baccalaureate degree, and then level 7, post-baccalaureate, and then level 8 would be doctoral and post-doctoral degrees. Now, let me just run through briefly on some of the levels and to illustrate the differences between levels. So for level 1, this is the very basic level, and if you will look at the matrix, there are 4 domains, and it's mainly focused on the manual and operational focus, and most workers in this level would have very close supervision by the manager or by the supervisor. So the degree of independence will be very little, or there's minimal judgment on the part of the worker at this level. In terms of application, that would be a limited range, because it's mostly the routine operational level. So that is level 1, and the qualification type is national certificate level 2. As you go higher, then the level of skills, knowledge, application, as well as degree of independence also goes higher and become more complex in a sense. Now, for knowledge and skill, the worker now would have a more variety of options to choose. And then application, it now involves as a range of familiar and predictable context. So it has broader range in terms of application compared to level 1, and while it still needs support from, but there is now limited judgment or discretion that is allowed for the worker. Then you go on to higher level, level 3. Now you have more balanced knowledge and theoretical, unlike the levels 1. Level 2 would be more the practical and hands-on. So you go on higher and higher for each level. So these descriptors allow an employer or an end user of skill to determine the level of competence or what the worker or the person can demonstrate in terms of knowledge and skills. So we're saying through the PQF that gives more transparency on the part of both on the education and training as well as the end user. So there are descriptors, I believe they are in your kit. I will not go into the details, but if you compare that, we go to the baccalaureate degree, that's a higher level already, and it has broader and coherent knowledge and skill. You see, it's more knowledge content than the actual and hands-on, because these are for the more knowledge workers, and then its application is in professional or creative work and research and in specialized field of discipline. And then there is substantial degree of independence already. So the highest would be on level 8, which will be for the doctorate and postdoctorate, and this would require highly advanced systematic knowledge and skills, and this is applied for professional leadership for innovation, research and development. And there is full independence on the individual who are working. So we observe that mostly in the research work that's being done by those possessing this doctorate degrees and higher. So in a nutshell, what is really a qualification, or it's PQF? And so we're talking about a qualification, which is, as a definition adapted, is a formal certification issued by an official agency in recognition that an individual has been assessed as achieving learning outcomes or competencies to the standards specified for the qualification title. So when you are in a possession of, say, a competency, but unless it is recognized by an authority or a recognized government entity, your qualification or your possession of your knowledge and skills would not be given much credit or recognition by the end user, by the worker. So that's why we need this qualification system, which are issued by either a training institution or a certification body. So what's good about our current system now is it also recognizes prior learning, meaning we do not need to, it's not always that we have to graduate in a formal institution to be given that qualification. We have open learning systems, we have the equivalency and the expanded equivalency program of the CHEP. In TESDA, we also adopt the recognition of prior learning, but you have to undergo assessment so that your competence, your knowledge can be assessed based on the standard set for each qualification. I think that's the value of having that standards. You know where you are being assessed at, and you are given that formal certification by a recognized authority. Now going back to our PQF, it is formally established. There's a national coordinating committee, and there are 5 major agencies involved in this: the TOLEF, CHEP, DepEd, TESDA, and the PRC. So you already have both the employment side as well as the education and training side for all levels. And the PQF and National Coordinating Committee has established 5 working groups that will work on the building blocks of the PQF. I say we are still a work in progress because there is much to be done to make it fully operational. If you look at the experiences of other countries, it will really take time, including its promotion and advocacy. For the working group on qualifications register, we have TESDA as the lead, and later on I'll show the work that has been done on the register and what it is. Pathways and equivalency, it is being headed by Chet, and we have not really fully established this. We have existing systems like the ladderized education, the ETEAC, as well as those of DepEd, the PPT, and the house. But we have to work on a seamless and unified system on pathways and equivalency. So I believe a study will be commissioned to work on this, to establish these pathways and equivalencies. Now, on quality assurance, underpinning this Philippine qualifications framework is a robust quality assurance system. So that is why I think, again, this is being headed by Chet, while DepEd, Chet, and TESDA have established its own quality assurance systems. We have to study that and see some of the commonalities so that there is, if needed, how we can harmonize this quality assurance system so that our publics are also well informed on the kind of standards that we have. So I believe this is a work that is being done also now by PIDS under, of course, the leadership of Chet. Now, working group on information and guidelines by the DepEd, and working group for international alignment being headed by PRC. So, so these are some. Let me go through briefly on the work that's being done. On the Qualifications Register, this provides regular, timely data and information and to the Secretary, to the employees, trainers, on the different qualifications that are quality assured and registered, meaning recognized by these government entities. Because as defined, a register is a national database of quality assured qualifications. It contains information on the qualifications and their corresponding competency standards, learning outcomes, and the authorized licensing and certification arrangements. It also provides information on the quality assurance systems and procedures applied to the authorization of the qualifications and the agencies mandated to issue the authorizations. We have now developed the register. It is now temporarily housed at the website of TESDA. There's a symbol of PQF, and you can click that. And in that register, we have so far developed three disciplines: bookkeeping and accountancy, dentistry, and hospitality and tourism. So what you will see there are the list of qualifications, meaning these are the recognized qualifications where certifications are issued either by TESDA through its assessment, and for some without the board examination, the diploma or the certificates and or diploma issued by the CHEP would be considered as the certification issued for graduates of like hospitality and tourism. So you can see what are different qualifications, who are the authorized training providers, as well as the authorized certification agencies. Now, as I was saying, the pathways and equivalencies is a work in progress, but it's really aimed at developing a national system of credit, grant, and transfer, inter and intra qualifications. We are, under the PQF, we want to establish a seamless and borderless education and training system from basic to middle level to higher education, so that there is a person can easily move from one level to another, provided, of course, that the attendant standards and outcomes are met. Now, I've also mentioned about the quality assurance, and then information and guidelines is really aimed at continuing information dissemination and advocacy on the PQM. And now, on international alignment, which is being led by PRC, it is mandated to conduct researches and studies for comparability and benchmarking of Philippine qualifications with other countries, including regional and international groupings. Like for regional groupings, we have the ASEAN international groupings. We also have APEC as well as other international groupings. And then it's also coordinating with other related international organizations in the pursuit of mutual recognition arrangements. So these are the benefits of the PQF to the person. It encourages lifelong learning, allowing the person to start at the level that suits him and then build up his qualification. So we are encouraging a person to really move up in the qualification ladder. And that the certificates and licenses are recognized by government. And of course, if there are mutual recognition arrangements, only those issued by the government will be recognized, of course, by the other countries. Now, to the employers, the benefits would be, it assures that standards and qualifications are consistent to job requirements and demand, and it provides common understanding on the standards and qualification levels. To the education and training providers, it ensures transparency in training provision and conformance to standards and preciseness of accountability for learning outcomes. And for the authorities, provides the standards, taxonomy, and typology of qualifications as basis for granting approvals to providers and stakeholders and harmonizes qualifications across levels. Now, let me introduce in brief the ASEAN Qualifications Reference Framework, because this is where we will see also where the importance and how our PQF will work against other international qualifications framework. So the under the ASEAN Economic Community, there have been initiatives on establishing, as I mentioned earlier, national qualifications framework globally and in ASEAN under the AEC. There is, and in the context of ASEAN integration, the ASEAN Qualifications Reference Framework has been established. The AQRF aims to accommodate the different types of national qualification frameworks that are at different stages of development, ranging from those that are conceptual proposals to those that are fully developed functioning NQFs. In ASEAN, not all countries have well-developed NQF. Some have existing qualification system, not the way it should be as a qualifications framework. But the objective of the AQF, as mentioned, is really to serve as a referencing. It's just a referencing framework from where all other NQFs can be benchmarked and aligned. And I'll show you later on how it is being done. So the AQRF is a device to enable comparisons of qualifications among ASEAN. It addresses education and training sectors, and it also incorporates formal, non-formal, and formal learning. So it also adheres to the principle of lifelong learning. These are the purposes of the IQRF, but let me go through the referencing process. This is how the referencing process works for among ASEAN. For those countries with an NQF like the Philippines, It identify in a broad sense the best fit of levels in the national frameworks to that of the ASEAN. You can easily fit your NQF against the AQRF if there is an existing NQF in a country. But for those countries without an NQF, you can identify for national qualification types or for key qualifications the best fit to the level of the ASEAN Qualifications Referencing Framework. That includes confirmation that the accrediting and registering agencies meet agreed quality principles and broad standards. So this is how it looks like. At the middle is the AQRF, and it, like the PQF, it has also 8 levels. So as you move up the levels from level 1, that's the more basic also, and the more it becomes more complex as you go higher to the qualification. So to reference it, a country with an existing qualifications framework, say the Philippines, country B, we can compare or benchmark our own qualification level against AQRF and see whether our level 1 will be the same as level 1 in AQRF. If you look at country A, for example, its level 1 can be equivalent to level 1 in AQRF. However, its level 3 would only be level 2 for AQRF. So that means when we do MRAs, mutual recognition arrangements, or we do comparability, especially in the context of international mobility of our workers. Our worker in country A with a level 3 qualification, comparing that so for AQRF that is only level 2. So when worker with level 3 goes to a country B, with his level 3 qualification would only be level 2 equivalent for country B, because that is as reference to the AQRF that is also level 2. So it provides a mechanism, a benchmark, a reference where you can compare the qualifications issued from one country to another, so that when that person moves to another country, you know to what level he or she belongs. And of course, sometimes levels of qualification determines the wages, the salaries of workers, or even positions. So our committee has matched our PQF against the AQRF, and based on the matching, our level 1 would be equivalent to level 1. And so it has a one-to-one matching in terms of leveling, although there are some differences in the descriptors. But in terms of leveling, more or less they are at the same levels. So just to give a concrete example on how it is done, specifically in the construction sector, there is an ASEAN Construction Federation. It is being led by the private sector through this ASEAN Constructors Federation that is doing benchmarking on construction-related trades. So among its members, they have agreed on certain terminologies and standards. And what they have done, because our Philippine training regulation on the construction sectors are also prepared in close coordination, and of course the preparation is led by our construction industry, in particular the PCA and its member organizations. They can easily match our qualification and the competencies described in our training regulation against the competencies described in the ACF competency standards. So if you will look at this example, good communication skills, that's how the competency is stated under the ACF. in our training regulation, we say it is participate in workplace communication, work in team environment, the same, practice occupational safety, and then we include career professionalism. So this is how mapping is done by the concerned sectors, so that they are able to determine whether the competencies that are possessed by a worker in one country would more or less be at the same level, or they can demonstrate the same skills, knowledge and skills by another country. So on. So if you have a qualifications framework, you are able to compare the competencies between countries, so that you are able to determine also whether you will provide or you will recognize their qualification at the same level as you are giving yours. So I think that's about all for our PQF. Thank you very much.